Secondly, the person has taken a stance and declared boldly that they are for the issue that young people are influenced by their peers. Rapid change has taken place over the past 10 years in our modern world. Family values and norms have a question mark behind them. Parenthood is not exactly what it used to be. How can you explain why a grade 7 boy would share a cigarette with his friends in a portable toilet on the school premises? A number of factors need to be considered to explain such actions. Peer pressure, growing population, numbers, and times. There are definitely many factors that contribute to the influence of peers dwarfing the influence of parents on youth. Reason is given next. So now when we come in, look at the argument that he brings. He talked about influence, talked about peer, time. He talked about friends. So when you argue, you're going to bring in various points, and as such, that is going to show that it's an argument. So now these are some of the things that you can use or topics that you can use to practice yourself. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Discuss your views. That's what we expect you to do in an argumentative essay. We are going to talk about the visual stimuli essays. You need to write an essay on one of the pictures that are provided. Decide what type of essay it's going to be. Under discussive, argumentative, narrative, reflective, it's up to you. So find something in the picture that will drive you to be the main starter of coming up with an essay. Is it an action? And what does the action symbolize and mean to you? So as a result, you have to now tell a story. You have to now discuss based on something you are looking at. So now when we are coming to visual stimuli, that is a watch. A watch can be an issue of time. Time lost is never regained. That's something you can talk about. This one says time, seconds, minutes, hours. Big obstacle. Seconds become minutes, minutes become hours. A better future is so far away. Time moves, doesn't wait for no one. Wish time will grant one more favor, or you can redo something in your life and do it right. So those are the things that we're talking about. Editing is being done as you have the samples. So let's follow the procedures. You will write your planning, detailed planning, beautifully done, followed by your editing, beautifully done, and by your final essay. So as a result, this is what we mean by visual stimuli, of you just looking at a watch and coming up with an essay. And therefore, it means that you are finally having a visual stimuli being brought into written form. Choose wisely. That's my advice to you. When you are coming into essays, please choose wisely. So as a result, these are some samples that you can use to practice essay writing using visual stimuli, and therefore it will be your choice of what you do this weekend. We are coming into the marking of the essays. As I said, it is divided into sections. You have content and planning, 30 marks, and then you finally have your structure. You also have your style, editing, and language use. So please, let's use that right. Language, style, and editing structure as well is there, giving you your 50 marks in total. Align yourselves to the rubrics, please. If you can, align yourselves to the rubrics. It will help you in the long run not to get lost. We are all trying to be skillful and exceptional, so which means we will fall under the following categories if we want high mark allocations in our section A. Let's go to section B, which is the longer transactional text. We have different types of longer transactional texts, which are divided into different categories. We definitely have formal letters. Category A has formal letters, informal or friendly letters, formal and informal letter to the press. Category B is your CV and covering letter and your obituary. Category C is going to have your review, your newspaper article, magazine articles, agenda in minutes of a meeting, formal and informal reports. Category D is going to be your dialogue, your written interview, your written formal and informal speech. We have been practicing them for a long time, I believe, coming from grade 10, and therefore the practice must pay off next week. So as a result, what is expected from you? You must know the type of transactional. You must know the format of the transactionals, which means you know what's in where it's supposed to be, what is supposed to be there. And as a result, if you internalize these things, it means you will be able to cope and choose one topic from there because you know all of them. And then you take the one that you know you will do that are just these two. So when we come into longer transactional text in the exam, we need to make sure that we know our content and we know our formats. So those are the ones that we really need to. There is also planning, a mind map is there. And then finally, you can be able to now to write your process writing style. I am going to go to the letters as they start off our discussion. Your longer transactional texts are always 120 words to 150 words. You align yourself to that word count and you will not go wrong. This is what we have. Register is not the same for a formal piece of writing and informal piece of writing. Very formal expressions are given and polite in a formal writing. Conversational style is used in an informal one. Please come to the party. But we say formally you are invited to attend a celebration. It is a great pleasure to meet you. I am honored to meet you, but we are saying pleased to meet you informally. Words are written in full, no contractions, no abbreviations. You do not use can't, you're supposed to write cannot. And as such, but in informal writing, contractions are very much acceptable. Sentences must be written in full for a formal piece of writing, grammatically correct, no slang. Joshua is a pleasant man. But informally, we don't even talk about man or pleasant. Joshua is a great guy. Or Joshua is a good guy. Use of third person. The grade 12s are concerned about the examinations. We are worried about examinations. Formal and informal differ because of the level of respect that must be given. Passive voice, a complaint has been made by the parents. But in the active voice in informal writing, it will be the parents have made a complaint. So as a result, let's internalize these things that we've just given you and make sure that you put yourself in the right spot. A formal letter, and as such, when I'm teaching a formal letter, I would love for people to see how it stands out so that they internalize the structure. It is your address first, followed by the 26th of November 2013, the date. There is no punctuation. You do not put the full stops or the commas or anything, just plain written addresses. And it has a second address whereby it starts with the position of the person and then it goes to the company's name. So we are saying it will be the manager, that's the position of the person. We are saying it's a place or location, it's PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then it's the address. There are three things that must be there. Dear Mr. Relative is the salutation. Application for 2013 bursary. You are now giving your letter a title. So as a result, this is where you have to give details of what you mean when you say title. You must give details. When you say title, what is the letter for exactly? So as a result, specifications must be done and it must be clear that the purpose of writing the letter must be given. So as a result, because you use DSA or Madam, it will be yours faithfully. And then it will be the signature and the name printed below. You don't know the person, so you used yours faithfully. So as a result, please let's do that. Okay. And then now we are going to go to some formal letters to help you practice your writing skills. You can use them there. So if names are not given in the question, make up the name of the person and the name of the company yourself and just be creative. Not all questions will give you who you are writing to and the address and all those things. So creativity must come in. Those are what we call formal letters. Let's go to informal letters. It's a friendly letter. We know it as a friendly letter. It's very informal. It can inform. It can be an informal letter to inform, an informal letter to thank, congratulate, offer sympathy, motivate, sympathize, or give advice. The tone is very friendly. It's very chatty. Informal register is always used. So let's pay careful attention to the layout of the informal letter as it differs to the formal letter. All planning is done. There's nothing that does not have planning, guys. Everything has planning. Everything is done properly as a process. Right, there we go. It's the correct address given. It is the correct salutation or greeting given. Dear Moses, you do not have to write the name, the surname if it's your best friend, obviously. So Moses is enough. Even when you are signing off, it will be your best friend Mkaya. So you don't have to write your surname either. Contractions are allowed. So as a result, you will be able now to feel free enough to express yourself the way you do when you're speaking face to face. Only one address, remember, that's the reason why I wanted to raise it. Okay, so now we are coming in and saying these are samplers that you can use to practice yourself. If you really are not sure that you've never really practiced one, you can actually use them as well. You have a lot of work to do, guys, this weekend, which means practice, practice, practice. We are going to go to a letter to the press, newspaper, going to a newspaper, obviously. So it has its own features and its own addresses. So as a result, a letter to the press is going for publication. So if it's going for publication, we must be able to know that it has to deal with the writer's view or opinion of what is supposed to be. So as such, it's addressed to the editor of the newspaper. So now you must be able to know that the audience is the readers of that newspaper, not the editor. It's the people who read the newspaper. So now when we coming in, it says respond to a letter in your local newspaper. In this letter, a reader argues that the death penalty should be reintroduced. Take a position. Do you support or reject the reader's view? It is, what is this one? One of the things we should do. So now, there you go. Your planning will be well done. Your draft will be done beautifully, followed by your final copy. The editor, the city press must be given, which is the name of the newspaper, the street's name, the location, and the postal code. Sir or madam, this is the letter that does not have a dear or sir. It's the only letter that does not have a dear or sir. Introduction of death penalty. Reintroduction of death penalty is the reference or the subject of the letter. Because it's a formal letter, it will be yours faithfully, and therefore it will be the signature, and then it will be, what is this one? The full names. Your own address that you usually write at the right-hand side of the page is now going to come at the top, which is at the bottom of the letter. So it means that there's a difference in in a letter to the press because of the position of the addresses. So our first address in a normal letter is our last address in a letter to the editor. I hope we are together there, because look at this picture, draw a mental picture, internalize it mentally to say this goes there, and as a result, you will not get lost in the exam. Please, let's try. Right, those are some of the samplers of a letter to the press that you can use to actually talk about certain things and how to express yourself, and therefore how to put the format in place. Now, when we're coming into Category B, we are going to go talk about curriculum vitae, covering letter, and an obituary. Different formats are coming in. It becomes more complex when it comes to formats because it means you have so many formats that you must be able to cram. A CV is sent to a business when you're applying for a job. So it will show the potential employer important information about you and your suitability for the job. Details about your education, qualifications, previous work experiences must be provided. So as such, one of the things that we're going to talk about is no contractions are allowed, no slang is allowed. It's strictly a formal CV, normal CV with a proper English and register. Potential employer is the audience, which means it must be respectful and it must be business-like, which is formal English. So as a result, let's go to the samples. You are applying for a job at a supermarket, write the CV that you will submit. It is not necessary this time around to write a covering letter, they say. So you'll be very lucky if you don't have a covering letter and just have a CV. Remember, I always repeat, everything must be planned for. Everything must be planned for. So as such, that's what we're talking about. Look at how things are done so that you can be able now to create your own and you are able now to come through with every information that is needed. Look at the subtitles, know which one comes first, which one follows, so that you'll be able now to tell yourself that I can write the CV in the examination and not fight with the markers for the wrong language used and the wrong formats used. Right. Internalize the structure, please, guys. Please internalize the structure. Go to the subheadings, know which comes first, which comes second, and then you will not go wrong. Okay, we move on. Right, we are going to an obituary. Someone just recently passed away. So it can be for publication or it can be just a normal obituary for a funeral. So listen to the question and know whether it is for publication or it is just write an obituary. So as a result, there are things that you must include. Details about the deceased life, person's date of birth, date of death, growing up, the schools, the education. So those are the things that we are talking about when coming to an obituary. Stories and memories about the person are included. Favorite sayings of the person, what the person has done. It is a mournful and sad tone, but it is uplifting because it is a celebration of that person's life. Personal feelings about the deceased can be included in the CV. So as a result, this is not a funeral notice. So please make sure you understand that it's an obituary. Right. It says a well-known person in your community has passed away. This person was actively involved in charity work, they say. So now we need to know, how do we write the obituary of that person? Look at that. Planning is always on point. You have a tendency of starting planning in the essay beautifully, but ending planning now in rough edges and in a rush manner, and therefore now you do not have consistency. Can we have consistency in all the three phases, please? In your essay, in your longer transactional, in your shorter transactional, planning must be on point. It must not change, and therefore it must remain the same. I'm going to go to the final text. Charles Mandini, that's the heading, and therefore it's showing us exactly the person that we're going to be talking about. So as such, that's a sample for you to look at and know exactly. For famous words, famous quotations are there. I believe it is where he grew up and all these things is there. When he was born and when he died is there. So as a result, please let's internalize the structures and it will be easier for you now to write proper answers. So please, let's make sure those are some of the examples of obituary questions that you can use to practice writing. So as such, let's practice and let's get prepared. We are going on to category C, which covers reviews, newspaper articles, magazine articles, agenda in minutes of meeting, and a formal report. They have different formats again, so we must adhere to that. So please, when we're writing a review, show some knowledge of what you are reviewing, give facts about it, or when describing some aspects of it. You should give your opinion about what you are reviewing and always give the reasons for your opinion. Reviews can include both the positive and the good points about what you are reviewing. The conclusion of your review should conclude whether your assessment is mostly positive or it is mostly negative. Use creative and interesting language to express your opinion, please. So as such, when we're saying a review, a city, a DVD, a place must come in. So let's please do that when we are giving a review assessment. So please, let's make sure it's a DVD, it's a place, it's a restaurant, it's a performance of some sort somewhere, right? As we see, planning is done, but someone did not finish the planning and left it hanging. And please, let's make sure that we don't leave anything hanging. Everything must be clear. Your paragraph 2 must be detailed. Paragraph 3 must be detailed. Paragraph 4, that is what we call planning. So don't leave anything out. Right. And then we have examples. You'll read them. You'll go through them because you have time to prepare this weekend and you want to make sure you have an idea of what we mean when we say review a novel or a play or a restaurant. So that's up to you. And we must be able to talk about these things in a beautiful way and make the person convinced. So we must be able to know exactly what we will give when coming to a review. Details must be provided about nothing but the truth so that by the time the person reads and finishes your review, they actually have an idea of nothing but the truth without having read nothing but the truth. So that's the purpose of a review. It will give details to a person who has never come across it, and therefore it means that they will have an understanding of it. We go to a newspaper article. These are read by people for information, so they must be well presented. We have different kinds of newspaper articles. Some give opinions, some give advice, some just present facts. So you will decide according to the question what the intention of your newspaper article is. There's been an increase in various types of crime in your area. Write an article for publication in your local newspaper, suggesting ways to avoid becoming a victim of crime. So you plan. Stop being a victim of crime. That's a beautiful topic. Identify local newspaper, victim of crime, and as a result, you must be able to specify. And as such, the planning is beautifully done. Please don't go wrong with the planning, guys. I believe that's why I used a document that has samplers from the people who are marking you to show you exactly samples of what they expect from you. There you go. The unfortunate reality is that crimes can and will happen. Here are some tips that will help you to avoid becoming a victim of crime. You are giving tips. It means you're advising people. And as such, beautiful advice given there. And therefore, that's what we call a newspaper article. Remember, the purpose will determine what you're supposed to do. So don't just generalize. Make sure you know what you're supposed to do. Beautiful questions there that you can use for practice sessions. You can use them. So please, let's go all out and make sure that we get it right. We'll be fine when we do that. All right, let's go on to a magazine article as well. Remember, we have two types of articles. We have a newspaper and then we have a magazine. Now, this one appears in a magazine. Like a newspaper, it has the same purpose. Information will be given, entertainment, advising. So as such, you must be able now to give advice, give some opinions, And as a result, it must be captivating. Creative language must be used. Let's be very creative. Look at the diction that is used in these samplers so that you can align yourself to say, I must write interesting language. Your language must be alive to entertain, to actually wake up the marker so that they can mark you. You are a committee member of your school magazine. So write an article covering the sports highlights of 2013. When we say school magazine, it means that your audience is your schoolmates. And as such, let's look at the beautiful product given. Oh, what a sporting year, it says. And then what does it do? Yes, you have it. 2013 has been the greatest sports year in the school's history. Winning all their games and the provincial championships, our soccer team did a mighty job. Special congratulations to Mike Malauzi for being selected as SA School's captain. Redin Charlie, the netball captain, did a super job leading a team to win all the games. Talk about jet propelled. We have to say a big congrats to Jackson Zondo, who won every sprint in sight. Doing 10-1 for the 100 meters is not shabby. And in the distance events, everybody just saw Ngobe Morabi's dust. So athletics and cross country also ruled the roost. None of this would have happened without Mr. Keliwe and Mrs. Mdota. Their encouragement, coaching, and motivation led us all the way. We say a very big thank you. So, sports cats, enjoy looking back on a magical year. It's a magazine. It must be entertaining, guys. It must be captivating. It must capture the audience, which is your marker, and as such, beautifully expressed there. So please go through the sample and make sure that you listen to the language and the expressions. Then it will guide you to producing your own. We are going to go to the next transactional. Our next transactional is an agenda and minutes of a meeting. An agenda is a list of subjects that will be discussed, as well as the procedure that will be followed at a meeting. The agenda is always prepared before the meeting. Minutes are a written record of what was discussed and decided at a meeting. Minutes are recorded as a meeting that has happened or is happening. So when we're coming in and say the items in the agenda are numbered in the sequence that will be discussed in the meeting, always remember we have to start with the greetings, opening, and all those things. When writing minutes, list the facts in point form. Number them in the order they were discussed and always use the past tense. You must also use the register of the minutes and it must be formal, record of facts, and you should not give your opinion. Make sure the details of the venue, date, and time of the meeting are recorded on the top of both the agenda and the minutes. So there is always a link between the agenda and the minutes. So it means that the agenda is actually a lead to the minutes themselves. So the agenda sets out what the meeting will always be about, and the minutes will always be a record of that meeting. So there's a connection. You are the secretary of your school's Learners Representative Council, it says. Write the agenda in minutes of the meeting in which the council discussed latecomers. So as a result, you must be able to have two things. You have the agenda, and then you have minutes. So this is where we're saying people must be very clever because they ask you to do both. Write the agenda, write the minutes, so which means they request both. So which means you must produce two things. So now this is a sample of what we mean by an agenda. As we say it listed. One is what comes first. Two is what follows after the first one, which is the opening and welcome. And then it will be attendance and apologies, minutes of previous meetings, new matters or latecomers, date of next meeting, close and vote of thanks. But now the minutes are a record. When we say opening and welcome, when we are recording the minutes, now we are specifying what happened. Opening and welcome was given by James Molefe, the chairperson. Attendance and apologies, names and learners present or apologies given by Mr. So-and-so attending a funeral. So you must be clear, and then you must have details of what you mean when you say minutes. So please, when we're talking about minutes, let's be very specific, as we say. Now you are giving details of what you mean by opening, by attendance, minutes of last meeting, new matters arising, date of next meeting, closing of meeting. So this will be the flesh of the agenda, and the flesh is now giving a proper description of what really transpired in the meeting. Right. There are some questions that you can use for last minute practice sessions. Remember, it's just for you to just sit down and say, I'm not sure about whether I can produce an agenda or minutes, so let me just practice for the final time and let me just make a way. So this is what you do. All right. So we are going on to our next transactional, which is a formal report. This is a written description of a situation or event after an investigation. Formal reports contain information and ideas that can help to resolve difficult issues. A report must be objective. It says it must state the facts about the situation that was investigated without giving personal opinions. The report must explain the procedure and findings of the investigation. It must conclude with recommendations for future action. The register must be formal. Use the past tense and the passive voice. Use the past tense and the passive voice. It's a formal report, so which means that we must be formal. Proper language, proper tone, proper everything. Please, let's make sure. So now when we're coming in, it has categories. So you must be able to internalize what we mean. This is the language we talk about in a report. There's an investigation, which is an formal inquiry or study of a situation. There's a procedure, which is the official process of the investigation. We have recommendations, suggestions of the best course of action to take, followed by the investigation itself. So now when we're coming into a formal report, let's have a sample. You are the captain. It says you are the captain of a popular sporting code at your school. And then it says your team participated in an inter-school event during which one of your team members was seriously injured. Your school principal has requested a formal report from you on the incident and the action taken afterwards. Write the report you will submit, and therefore, so your school principal has requested a formal report. So now, incident is the one that must be dealt with, and then let's go to the report itself. As we said, beautiful plannings must come in. Guys, don't make a mistake there. This gives you confidence. If you have a beautiful planning, it means that you will have a beautiful piece of writing. You will not go wrong there. So let's go to the procedures and the subtopics of what we mean by formal report. It will have a title, Report on Incident at Inter-School Soccer Match. Who is it directed to, or who is it going to? For attention, it's going to the principal. Terms of reference, this is you now giving details about why the report is being written. The procedure is what happened for you to get the information. There was an interview, there was a description written down, there was Tom who gave his own account, there was an analysis that was of results that was done by the captain, and conclusions were drawn. Findings: Tom Boyer's knee was injured in a clash And therefore, this is what you found when you're investigating. This is what you got from the referee. This is what you got from the description. This is what you got from the account. This is what you got as an analysis. So now when we're coming into the findings, we are talking about what was discovered. And finally, we have a conclusion. What must be done and action must be taken in order to address the situation. So what do you recommend? The principal should call a meeting to discuss the report with all parties, and a course of action should be agreed on. Look at this. When you are going into your report, you must know, I have a heading. I need to know who I'm addressing it to and write it there. I need to have my terms of reference. I need to have my procedure. I need to have my findings. I need to have my conclusion, followed by the recommendations, signing, and the dating done. Know the structure of your transactionals. Know what comes first, what comes second, and therefore it means that you know how it stands out. If you know how it stands out, you will not go wrong. It means that you'll be able to produce it. So that's what we call a formal report. Those are some of the topics that you can now play around with and try to get a gist of common topics and common things that can be used to practice. I need us to understand the importance of knowing that whatever we're doing is a format, and therefore you must align yourself to it. Let's go to category D. Category D is a dialogue, is a written interview, has a formal and informal speech. Writing a dialogue is a conversation. The people speak about a specific topic. So it can be a formal dialogue depending on the age and who you are talking to, and there can be an informal dialogue. If it is formal, the language must be polite, no contractions must be used. But if it is informal, there are no contractions. My apologies. If it is informal, contractions can be used because it is informal language used. So it means that the structure of a dialogue is the same to that one of a play. So it can now have certain things that encompass directions. A close friend has upset you in some way. Write out the dialogue that takes place between you and your friend, in which you discuss with him or her what she has done. Right. Let's look at how it's supposed to stand out. Here it is. Argument between two friends, Boy and Andile. And then now we have columns. We have the name on the left-hand side of the column, and then nothing must be written underneath the name. All conversations are beyond the column, and therefore they must be pegged correctly. Right, so you have your tone and stage directions in brackets. We know the drill. It means it's giving feelings, actions, and all those things. So as a result, those are the ones that you need to now practice on. To say they give more information, and as a result, they will give you more flesh. So please, let's make it neat and beautifully done. You make it neat and stand out beautifully, you will not go wrong. Remember, columns must be respected, and it means that you do not put quotation marks, because there are still people who want to put quotation marks because they say it's a conversation. There will be no quotation marks. So as a result, those are our longer transactional, what is this one? Category D. These are some of the examples that you can use for practice sessions, and you can go through them and see what you know. We are going to go to our next transactional text. Right. Interview is what follows. The same as a dialogue. The only difference is that it's not a conversation between two people, but what it is that it is a question and answer dialogue. So it means that a written interview in the exam uses formal language. Avoid using slang, contractions. Written in the format of a dialogue as a record of the actual words. The purpose of an interview is to record exactly what each person said as accurately as possible. So as a result, investigating is being done, more information is being solicited, and as such, it says your local municipality needs male and female administrative assistants. You have applied for one of these positions. The municipal manager has invited you to an interview. Write out the interview that takes place between the two of you. Okay. Um, let's look at this. You are asking questions. Mr. Guevara is going to, what is this one? Is going to be interviewed by the manager, and therefore questions must be asked and answers must be given. So as a result, please let's make sure that we understand. If you're asking a question, you will have to put the question marks. You cannot leave them be and pretend they are not part of you. So that's very important. Right. Those are some of the questions that you can use as a practice field. And as such, it can draw you now to actually bringing something before the examination to practice on that you can actually perfect. Let's go to the speech. A speech uses formal language if it's a formal speech. And as such, it must be polite, it must be sincere. So as a result, you have been selected to deliver a farewell speech on behalf of the grade 12 learners at your final school assembly. Write out your speech. Let's look at the type of language that was used in the register. The principal, Mr. Dumini, honored guests, teachers, parents, and most importantly, the grade 12s of 2023. Introduction is always going to give you the hierarchy of the audience that you are addressing. So as a result, the person listed, you must be able to also list the delegation that you are addressing, and as such, from the highest in the hierarchy to the lowest in the hierarchy. So as a result, this is what we mean by beautiful formal language. I was talking to Mr. Dumini earlier, and he said that this matric group is one of the best classes in years. We are a credit to ourselves and our families. That's formal language. So as such, when you are doing a speech, let's make sure we inspire. We make sure that we give an opportunity to give honor where it's due. And as such, you must be able to use proper language. So those are some of the topics that can be utilized in your process writing and preparing for the exams and trying to see what you know at the moment. We are saying we must be able now to go to the next section, which is the shorter transactionals, which is our final section C. What do we have? We have advertisements, invitation cards, flyers, posters, diary entries, postcard instructions, and directions. So this is what we're going to finally look at today. And you see the samplers. I hope looking at the sampler, how it stands, means that you internalize it and you leave it in the right spot. Let's do that. Right. Let's go to our section C. Right. What do? We also have proper planning, please. Everything is planned for, guys. Everything is planned for, and it must be a process throughout the 3 sections. Right. You edit your work, we know the drill, and then you write your final copy. So as such, let's go to category A, advertisements. Advertisements are aimed to sell products or services. They are found in electronic media, TVs, radios, websites. In the cinema, through SMSs to cell phones. Print media can also be found. Use creative language to get the reader's attention. Figures of speech, puns, catchy headlines, information about the product or service. It must be a friendly and engaging tone. Remember, you need to be friendly so that they can feel closer to you as customers and can be able to be persuaded. It can include a special offer, discount, a free quotation so that they are getting a good idea. They can feel they are getting a good deal. This makes them more likely to buy your product or use your services. Use an interesting and eye-catching layout. Use different sized writing fonts to get the reader's attention. Be creative. Please, let's be creative. We are going to look at samplers and see what we do. All right. Your family runs a home business making products such as toys, ethnic jewelry, and clothing. Write out the advertisement to promote the sale of one of the products to tourists. You should include the following in your advertisement: a brand name, a slogan, details of the product, and where to find it. But they gave a clear instruction: do not include illustrations, guys. Right. There we go. Toys for Africa is the title that you have given to the company business. Persuasive sentence or a slogan has been given. Take home a piece of Africa for your little one. I always say, remember what you are given in paper 1, section C, which is advertisement. This is coming in. There must be a title, there must be a slogan, there must be this information and all those things. So let's make sure that we incorporate these things and give them out. Information about the product is provided. Contact details are given. The slogan is also there. So as a result, let's make sure that we are very creative. This is the creative section for you because you have to design something for yourself. So it means when you design something for yourself, you design and decide what goes where or how it should be and where it should be. So as a result, this is just samples, right? There are examples for you to use and practice on. I will move on and go to an invitation card because creativity is demanded in this section C. It's a written request inviting someone to attend a specific occasion. Use formal language. Invitation must briefly provide the information the guests need to know about the event to which you are inviting them. So as a result, you have been asked to invite, they say you have been asked to invite guests to your school's prize giving function. A former principal of the school will be the guest speaker. Write out the invitation card you will send to the guests. They are clear, do not include illustrations or drawings. Right. So as a result, you are going to create something for yourself. And now there it stands out. It will always have a heading. What is the ceremony? Who is it going to? The greeting. And then you are now going to entice. Let us celebrate the hard work that has been put in by learners for the year. You are invited to attend the 2013 prize giving. The school's choir and dance group will be adding their talents to make the celebration even more enjoyable. The guest speaker will be given, the date of the event, the time, the venue, the dress code, and the RSVP, where replies will be sent to. Beautifully done. Illustrations were not wanted, and therefore it means that you are just giving the information, and then you will be done. Internalize how it stands, internalize what should be there, and you will not go wrong. So if they do not want any illustrations, then you know it's just information that is logically given. Know what comes first, what comes second, and what should be there. You will not fail. Writing a flyer is a cheap and simple form of advertising. One-page leaflet that is given to people even in the streets. I think we've seen them. Simple language, special offers, layout, eye-catching, different size fonts to get their attention. These are things you must include. So as a result, it is 80 to 100 words. So give as much as you can when it comes to information, since there are no illustrations and they don't have any marks. You employed a painter, Isaac Kumalo, to paint your house. His work was of a high standard. He now wishes to promote his business and has asked you to write a flyer. Write out this flyer. Do not include illustrations or drawings. All right, let's go there and see. This is the flyer. Do you need a painter? Isaac Kumalo can help you. So now what have you done? You have created a heading. Information about the service is clear. 22 years of experience. He, in the trade, satisfied customers numerous, many. That's beautiful diction to emphasize the numerous one. He promises you a paint job that looks great and will last, and no mess to clean up afterwards. Works in waterfall hedges, in the waterfall hedges and plains areas. References shown on request. It says if you feel you want to know more about his work life, and then finally the contact details will be given. So this is what we are facing when it comes to a flyer. No illustrations necessary, remember, so you don't need them. So it means that you will just have to give the proper information. There you go. Practice is there for you if you need it at any time. Right. Writing a poster. This is a large printed notice in a public space. Simple form of advertising. Bold lettering must be used. Interesting layout must be used to catch the people's attention. So as a result, when we say simple form of advertisement, it means that it uses simple language, very simple language. And as such, just give what is necessary. And they say it used large lettering for the headline to catch readers' attention, which means attention must be captured first at the top. Your friends have formed a band and have been offered the opportunity to play at a local restaurant. Write the poster that promotes their appearance at this venue. Again, no drawing or illustrations are required. What do we have standing out there? Live. The Homeboys. After playing in clubs in Port Elizabeth for the last 3 years, the Homeboys are finally heading for downtown East London. The Homeboys sounds is a whole new mix of jazz and kwaito that will keep you dancing all night. Featuring the amazing bass guitarist Banjo, one night only, where the Chisanyama restaurant, where 68 Gleason Avenue, where in Fayetteville. When 16 November 2013, time 1800 to 2300, cover charge 20 rand per head, secure parking at the restaurant, and the casual dress code is needed. This is what we call a flyer, where all necessary information is needed, and then you will be fine. There are your practice ground sessions for you to now strengthen yourself in the last minute. It's never too late to try, and it's never too late to work hard on it. Right, we go to category B of our section C. Diary entry, or it can be a postcard. So it means you must be able to know so that you are prepared for any one of them. So when we say diary entry, it's a personal account of events, thoughts, and feelings, which means it's in the first person narrative. I, me. So it's the writer himself who's writing the diary entry. So as a result, you are in grade 12 and you have been experiencing mixed feelings about the final examinations. Write down your diary entries for the following 2 days. The day before the examination starts and the last day of the examination. So you have 2 diary entries, and as such, it means that you must meet the word limit. Right. First date is Monday, 6th October. Second date now is towards the end of the year, which is Wednesday, 27 November. What happened on 6th October? I feel stressed but excited as this is the beginning of the end, my final high school chapter. I'm nervous because I don't know what to expect. Did I study enough? My whole school career is almost over. But on Wednesday, now 27 November, the month flashed by. It's over. A huge burden is lifted off me. I am so happy. I gave it my best shot. All I can do is wait for the results now. I feel a bit sad too. School is over forever. A wave of emotions is brought in. A beautiful contrast of emotions has been brought in. And therefore, that is what we call diary entrance. And then there's your practice ground again. You use what you need, you try where you can, and as a result, you internalize what you must in these final hours. Now we go on to our final category, I believe. Yes, I believe it's our postcard. Yeah, it must be our postcard. Our postcard is A postcard is a short message sent by post that briefly tells someone your news and lets them know you are thinking of them. So the question says you are far away from home at a beautiful holiday resort. Write the text or words of a postcard that you would send to a family member describing your experiences. No illustrations are needed. Far away from home, beautiful holiday resort. Family member experiences must be brought in. Let's see. There we go. 9 December 2013. Where exactly in KwaZulu Chalets? Who are you writing to and sending the postcard to? Your mother? There is a beautiful description of the place, and as such, scenery is simply great. We've seen so much awe-inspiring mountains, green forested valleys, silver river wind their way in the distance, wind their way in the distance. Silver rivers wind their way in the distance. The game reserve is amazing. When you see them close up, lions are so big and scary. We saw an impala being hunted by a pack of wild dogs. It was so cruel I couldn't watch. Our camp is basic but comfortable. Everyone is so friendly and helpful. I'm having a super time, but missing you a lot. Informal salutation, lots of love. It's from Primrose. Those are the words that can be included in a postcard, and therefore it means you will not go wrong. So please let's internalize. There are your questions that you can use as last minute to try and gamble with trying to seal in your content and practicing how to write a postcard. Right, we move on. And we are going to go now to our last category, which is category C. One of them must be known, must be written. Both of them must be known. One of them must be written in the exam. It can be instructions or directions. It's either of those two. Let's look at writing instructions. It's a way of explaining how something is done. They explain how to do something step by step. So as a result, the language should be very formal, the tone and should be very factual and informative. Organize the instructions so they follow each other in a logical order in point form list. Right. You have been asked by a sports coach to help if a mouth-to-mouth emergency situation occurs on the sports field. He has asked you to write a set of instructions on mouth-to-mouth artificial respiration. Artificial respiration, as they've explained, is helping someone who has stopped breathing to breathe again by placing your mouth on his or hers and blowing your air into his or her lungs. Okay, let's see the instructions that we get. There we go. I believe the set of instructions must be in point form. The instruction says use of imperative voice. Do this. Place the person. Pull his or her jaw. Blow. Repeat. That's what we call an imperative voice. So the heading will be given instructions for mouth artificial respiration. And then finally, it will be given now as imperative commands, and as such, verbs must be used, imperative verbs must be used for you to give the instructions. Place the person face up. Tilt the head back so his or her chin points upwards. Using your fingers, remove any food from his or her mouth. Pull his or her jaw down to clear the tongue from the air passage and pinch the nostrils. Blow into the person's mouth until his or her chest rises. Listen for air rushing out, indicating air being exchanged. Repeat blowing. For adults, blow 12 breaths a minute. For children, blow 20 breaths a minute. There are your writing instructions, activities, samplers of questions that you can just play around with and try and see how you can create yours. And then we come now to writing directions. Directions explain to someone how to get to a certain place. They explain step by step. All information should help the reader follow these instructions to get to the place. Language should be formal. Tone should be factual and very informative. Organize the directions so they will follow each other in a logical order or in a point form. Right. You and your friends have decided to meet at your house to celebrate the end of the examinations. Write out the directions you will give your friends to travel from the school to your house. In your response, you must include some distances, turns, and landmarks. Do not include sketches or maps. You live in an urban area, include landmarks like a fast food outlet, an intersection, or a park. You live in a rural area, include landmarks like a bridge, a river, or a road sign. Right. They've given you specific things what you should do if you're in the urban or you are in the rural. Let's look at what is done. There's a heading to everything. Directions from school to my house. So which means that we have all things put in place. From the front school exit, turn left into Rampele Road. At the T junction, turn right. Continue straight down the road for 500 meters and cross the bridge. After crossing the bridge, landmarks are given, guys. Turn right at the first road into Fairview Street. Go straight past Fairview Shopping Center. At the robots, turn left at the corner cafe into Edward Street. I live at 11 Edward Street on the left-hand side of the road. The house has a blue front door, a red roof, and a green gate. No one can get lost now because the directions have been clear. Let's learn to direct people. So as a result, this is where you can practice for yourself to say, let me try my own, my left, my right, my landmarks and everything and buildings and all those things. And believe me, you won't go wrong on Monday. So as a result, this is you trying to seal in your paper 3s. So when we are saying we're giving you samples, we are saying, please look at how it stands out. Look at what is supposed to be given, and then you'll be able now to produce your own. Samplers will give you a guide. I mean, at this last moment time, the one thing that you can do now is to say, oh, I used to confuse and put this first, but I'm seeing that this goes where. Instead of me starting with this, I'm supposed to start with that. This goes to the end. This is the purpose of this lesson, for us to guide you visually in the last minute to internalize what sits where, what stands where, and what where should be, so that you can be able to put it in the right place in the examination. We wish all of you the best in your examination, and we pray for the best, we hope for the best, and we hope that you will do the proper procedures and preparation. Prepare, revise.
Are we talking about when we go through essay writing? All right, so first let's look at our instructions, because we want to ascertain ourselves what we are expected to do. All right, so number 1, it says section A, essay writing. Question 1, write an essay of between 250 words. All right, okay, so we start right there, 250 words. All right, so here we know it's 250 words to 300 words in length in one of the following topics, right? And they instruct us, write down the number and the title of the essay you have chosen correctly. For example, 1.1, it is my life, right? So we get 1.1, it says it is my life. 1.2, small steps, big changes. 1.3, allow your silence to speak for you. 1.4, that was unexpected. 1.5, comparison is a thief of joy by Theodore Roosevelt. All right, okay. And then we move downwards and we notice that we have got pictures. All right. Then it says choose one of the following pictures and write an essay on a topic that comes to mind. Write the question number 1.6, 1.7, and give your essay a suitable title. Note that there must be a clear link between your essay and the picture you have chosen. All right, so we look at the first one, 1.6. We see that it's a girl that's on a swing. We go to 1.7. We know that it is a robot. Okay, newly invented robots. All right, so we've gone through the questions. All right, we've got also the third picture, that is 1.8. We see a stallion, right? A horse. Okay. All right, so we'll just stop there. All right, so before we even get started, all right, let's just first find out what is expected from us, English file learners, English first additional language. Okay, so right. Okay, let's get to the essay writing. Okay, so what we understand about paper 3. One is that paper 3 is weighted more heavily than paper 1 and 2, which is about 70 and 80 marks respectively, as paper 3 is out of 100 marks. So if we apply ourselves and we focus particularly on very important aspects of this paper, we can perform better. And this can actually try and revive your marks from where they were. All right. Okay, let's look at the different types of essays. So they don't specifically say which essay you're supposed to write. We do know that we've got our narrative essay, we've got our discursive essay, we've got descriptive essay, we've got a reflective essay, and so forth. All right, so what were you supposed to do? Right, so I'm going to go through 1.1 right up until 1.9, all right, and say the possible stances or the possible perspectives that we could have embarked on. Possibly, what could we have done? How could we have done this? All right. So let's start with the first one. The first one, 1.1, says it is my life. Okay. So what do we learn about it is my life? Okay. All right. So it is my life. All right. So you're thinking about life. All right. It could be your primary state of existence. All right. It could be a lifestyle that you're thinking about. Okay. What else comes into our mind when we're thinking about life? Okay. It could be the life that you want to have. It could be your life biologically, also psychologically. That can also be one's life. All right. So what are we expected to do? Right. Number one, if you have chosen topic 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. All right. The first thing that you need to do at this moment, okay, you need to make sure that you start with your planning. All right. So how are we going to plan? We're going to plan going through 1, 2, 3, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 steps. All right. So number one, the first thing that you're going to do if you're talking about my life, all right, it's exposition, your hook. So you want to start your essay with a hook. Yes, we want to start our essay with a hook. All right. So a hook can be anything from starting it with a quotation, starting your essay with a question or a joke or a statement, all right, or something that one can think about. All right. Gone are those days when we start essays with, oh, it was a sunny day, or it was a happy, happy day, or it was September the 3rd. All right. But now we started with a hook. All right. So a hook is actually a thrilling, staring event or problem to stir up interest immediately. All right. So we want to stir up interest about our life. All right. So we will probably say life is what you make of it. Have you ever thought about what your life could be if you didn't make the decisions that you make? Question mark. All right. In that case, you were actually inviting the marker to consider the possibilities of what you could have done, of what your life could have been. All right. All right. Let's look at the second one. We look at 1.2. Small steps, big changes. All right. Exposition, right? It's the first step of your essay. We could have asked ourselves, so what could be a possible problem to this? All right. The problem with life is that making decisions is not always an easy thing. But what do you do when you are forced to make the decision at that time? Full stop. All right. So do you see how I, in a way, invite the say, well, taking that step was by far the best step that I could take. But did I know where it was going to lead me? All right. So in that way, we are actually introducing the small steps and the big changes, the possibilities of the step being bigger. All right. So that is the exposition, all right, for topic number 1.2. All right, let's go to 1.3. Allow your silence to speak for you. All right. Sometimes you don't need to say anything, but your silence can do all the work for you. All right. I've just started my essay with a statement. All right. I've made a statement. All right. So that's what I've done. All right. Or you can ask yourself a question, ask the marker a question, ask your audience the question. Um, does it really matter what you say when somebody won't listen to you? If they will not accept your words, better serve them with your silence. All right. In that way, I'm immediately drawn to what you're trying to say. Immediately at that point, I'm drawn to where you might take me. All right. So remember, your essay is a journey. We are exploring, we are going somewhere. All right, with this. Okay. Let's move on. We go to 1.4. That was unexpected. All right. Something that is unexpected happens suddenly. It's something we didn't see coming. We did not have a foresight about it. We did not see that it was going to happen. That was unexpected. So you are going to be talking about that experience. So your focus is on that experience, that happening, that event, which you ultimately found to have been unexpected, meaning that you did not expect to see it happening the way it happened. But excuse me about that. Then we move on to 1.5. Comparison is the thief of all joy. All right. Comparison. Okay, let's go there. Comparison. A nice big word right there. All right. Comparison. All right. What could comparison be? All right. Comparison is when you put two things alongside each other and you look at the advantages or the disadvantages of either or. All right. So we're saying that our ability to put things alongside each other and actually lay out their disadvantage or advantages can sometimes steal our ability to be happy around. So, for example, if I am going to be comparing my shoe with my friend's shoe, so I don't enjoy my shoe. Or you can either agree with it or even disagree with it. So remember this, boys and girls, is creative writing. And if it's creative writing, it means that you need to think out of the box. You need to do something that is outside the ordinary. And that's what the marker is expecting you to do, right? Because it's giving you a quotation. So you need to explore this quotation in detail. All right. Okay. Then we look at the pictures. All right, what do we see with the picture? Right, we see there's this girl. Right, let's look at some of the aspects that we see in this picture. All right, so we see there's a building there. We see that she's innocent. Yes, because we're looking at her facial expression. What else do we see? Okay, she's wearing shoes, well taken care of. She's wearing clothes. It seems as if she's in like a park. We look at the setting. All right, look at the setting. All right, so that's the setting. What else do we see? We see that the passerbyers right there. We see a very, very tall building right up there. Right, very, very tall building. And we see other passerbyers right there. All right, there's another passerby right there. So there's a lot of aspects. We can see that she's holding on to the swing for dear life, a tight grip. All right. So there is a number of things that we can talk about with this. All right. When I look at it, my mind gives birth to innocence. Yes, being young, being lively, not knowing what's going to happen. Right, being free, isolated in a big city. All right, so those are things that you can talk about. All right, and then okay, we see robotics, AI right here. Okay, we see that this one is doing some cooking. Oh yes, thank you, sir, for doing some cooking. We see a smile on his face, meaning that this robot, in fact, enjoys. So we could look at robots that actually have emotional intelligence, not just artificial intelligence. We look at that it's working in a kitchen. That's the setting. All right. So that's, remember the setting. All right. We look at the setting. We see that it's happening there. What else? What else do we see? I'm not. So we see a stove. Okay, it's pretty hot. We see it's holding a spatula and it knows how to hold it very well. And yes, and so forth. Okay, then we move on to the next one. All right, stallion. Okay, so what do we think about? We always see a stallion. All right, of course, we see something. It is a very strong horse. Right, look at its legs. All right, very, very strong. We look at the beauty that it has. All right. We look at the way that it's able to move. All right. Look at how it's stretching its feet. All right. So we look at the freedom that is embedded there. All right. I can also see that the tail is just waving in the wind. All right. Look at the tail. Look at its back. All right. We can tell that the breeze, this cool breeze, is actually hitting very hard on this horse, even as it moves. Okay. All right. So that's what we have seen. All right. So I've taken you through the exposition right now. So that's the exposition. That's things that we think of, the hook. That is the start of one's essay. All right. That's the hook. That's you actually think about when you are fishing. Right. That's something that's to win over your marker. So your marker only focuses on your paper, being very impressed with it. All right. So with all these topics that I've just been through, right, the first thing that you want to do, right, is to begin with the hook. And we've done that hook, right, okay? And then your hook can be just 2 sentences, all right? So number 1, right, so with the hook, we start with just 2 sentences, all right? So it's 2 sentences, all right, 2 sentences, all right? So that's where we do. Okay, that's the hook, right? That's you bringing it closer. Number 2, right? What do we do then afterwards? Okay. Then we have to create a conflict. Then what was the problem? So it's my life. All right. So you've started it by saying that it is your life, that how difficult it is when somebody tries to force you to live a certain way, but you only realize later on that this is actually your life and you need to live it. All right. So then now you have to create a problem. All right. What is the problem? What's the challenge for the main protagonist? Remember, we are writing a narrative essay, all right? Whether it's a narrative essay, whether it's a reflective essay, you are trying to communicate a problem, right? So what is the problem that is faced, all right? So sometimes people want to live your life, or if it's the second topic, small steps, big changes, all right? So you see that most times in life, we find ourselves in positions where we want to change things, all right? But it is the small steps in life that ultimately leads us to those big changes that we see. All right. So, or it could be even allow your silence to speak with you. So even with that, you create the problem. You show me what the problem is. You show me where the problem could be. All right. And then we move on to the second step. All right. So, but before that, you need to speak about the weakness, right? At this moment, all right, you're still on your introduction. All right. Your introduction will go something like this. All right. So let's say we are using the second topic, small steps, big changes, or we're using that was unexpected. All right. In all my life, knowing what I could do and what I could get up to, I always expected the best of all my actions. But after seeing my weakness and the fact that I could not speak good to people and I could not admonish them in kind voices, I did not expect that I would lose my friends. All right. Did you see me raising up the conflict? Did you see me starting with the problem? Did you see me actually getting you to be hooked, asking you a question? All right. So I've created now the problem. Now, the third thing that I'm going to do now, the third thing that you're expected to do in your introduction is to now introduce me to the setting of your essay, right? So where is it taking place, all right? So after asking me that question about whether your silence was appreciated or not, the next thing that you now need to do is to create a setting, all right? Now, you now narrate to me that on that day, well, I was with my friends, sipping coffee at the nearby coffee shop, all right? So you've given me a setting, and the fourth thing that you do is also give me your character. All right. So that's what you do. Number 1, you give me a hook. You give me the conflict and the problem. Number 2, in your introduction, you need to make sure that you give me that will feature into your essay. The people that are going to interact with each other. All right. So logic. Then it goes towards the end, and then paragraphs where you have then you've got your third paragraph of your body that is paragraph 4 of even having that only depends on how many aspects of the giving me a background. A internship was just not expected. You then give me wanted to unwind and wonderful to do like setting. Who are not from attaining the goal. All right. Who are you doing you go to do change the whole thing. All right. So now something. All right. Now to try to between you document that you are going to I think now we are telling what action is. So it starts nice and swiftly with you and your friend having a conversation. Then it rises to the action. Then we get to the real action. And when it gets to real action, we then see the falling of the action. That is the main climax. All right. So we see the climax. That's the highest point in your story. So your story needs to follow that. Number one, your exposition, right? Where you introduce the story. Number two, you then go into the rising action, right? What builds up the tension. Those instances that build up the terms with each other, and then you bring back to your topic, which says that was unexpected. You never thought you never expected things to take the turn they did. You never expected to slap your friend and your friend slaps you back. And you certainly did not expect that you will win back your friendship after your friendship had gone astray the way it did. All right. So see what we've done. We've actually built a story. Excuse me about that. You're going to maybe speak about what happened in the beginning of the story. All right, beginning of the story. Then the third point, you want to speak to what happened in the middle. Remember, you're telling me a story. And if you're telling me a story, it needs to flow chronologically, right? It needs to follow a chronological order. And then if you go to number four, then you're going to tell me what happens towards the end. All right. Then it goes towards the end. And then number 5, of course, you're going to have your conclusion. All right. Ideally, an essay needs to have 5 paragraphs where you have got your introduction, paragraph 1. Then you've got first paragraph of the body, that is paragraph 2. Then you have got your your second paragraph of your body, that is paragraph 3. Then you've got your third paragraph of your body, that is paragraph 4. And then you've got your last paragraph, that is going to be a conclusion, that is paragraph 5. All right. Some learners normally go through the line of even having more than, say, 5 paragraphs. Some people can even have more than 5 paragraphs. All right. And that only depends on how many aspects of the topic you would like to discuss. But please, the most basic format is to have 5 paragraphs. Okay. All right. So now we've dealt with what we need to do in our narrative essay. All right. So the third thing that we need to look forward to in our essay, all right, is giving me a background. All right. So we need to give, so number 1, in your introduction, you gave me a hook. All right. You hooked me by telling that out of all the things that I've known to be able to do, what happened to me after I lost my friendship was just not expected, completely unexpected. You've given me a hook. Number 2, you then give me your characters and your setting. I remember that day when I was with my friends at that coffee shop, which had just newly been open. Okay, so you're giving me the character, and you're also giving me the setting. All right. And then the next thing that you need to do for me at this point is to give me the background. All right. We had gone there because we just wanted to unwind and find something wonderful to do and think about the ideas that we had to plan for our summer holidays. All right. So you're giving me the background as to what brought you to the setting. Who were the characters that were there? It's just you, of course, and your friend. But what made you decide to come there? All right. That is your exposition. All right. Then we get to the complication, all right, of things. The paragraph 1 of your body. All right. Now you begin to show me how a problem starts. 1 or more problems that prevent your characters from attaining the goal. All right. So initially, y'all had planned to go out to Durban and to enjoy your summer holidays. So sitting here, you decided that it was not a good idea for you guys to go to Durban, but rather you wanted to go to Cape Town because you had other friends in Cape Town. So you were now going to change the whole thing. All right. So here you're giving me the weakness, the problem that prevents your character from actually fulfilling something. All right. So that's what you do in your first paragraph. You now tell me what happens at the beginning. You try to change the topic from Durban to Cape Town, and that caused conflict between you. All right. And then as that continued, it was a back and forth argument up until your friend decided to leave. All right. And when he left, you were not happy. All right. You decided then that you are going to follow him. All right. Then comes to your next paragraph. All right. So you follow your friend, and well, your friend does the unthinkable. And does what? And your friend decides to slap you. and you slap them back. All right. So now you are telling me what the rising action is. So it starts nice and swiftly with you and your friend having a conversation. Then it rises to the action. Then we get to the real action. And when it gets to the real action, we then see the falling of the action. That is the main climax. All right. So we see the climax. That's the highest point in your story. So your story needs to follow that. Number one, your exposition, right? Where you introduce the story. Number two, you then go into the rising action, right? What builds up the tension. Those instances that build up the tension. Number three, you then go on to the climax. That's the highest point in the story where your friend ultimately slaps you and you slap them back. All right. And then this is the point of the story that is at its peak. So now we want to know what happened. So now your friend has slapped you and you slapped him back. What then? Did you expect this? How are you feeling? All right. So then after that, we get to the falling of the action. So maybe people come and they stop you guys and they say that maybe you should not fight the way you guys are fighting. You guys are friends and you guys need to fix things and things must be better. All right. So this is the point where in the story, you realize what your actions have caused. All right. So after looking at the complication of the problem, you remember something that happened before the story took place. Now you say, well, maybe this is in your third paragraph. And then this, you remember that you failed to look at your anger. You failed to keep your anger and your short temper in place. All right. You're having a flashback now. All right. So now you're actually reconsidering, why did I do what I did? My friend has left me. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? You decide to follow after your friend. And when you find your friend again, you decide to fix things. And the story ends with you guys being in good terms with each other. And then you bring back to your topic, which says that was unexpected. You never thought you never expected things to take the turn they did. You never expected to slap your friend and your friend slaps you back. And you certainly did not expect that you will win back your friendship after your friendship had gone astray the way it did. All right. So see what we've done. We've actually built a story chronologically. All right. Chronologically. So it could happen that in any way you want to write maybe a descriptive essay, right? Remember, with your descriptive essay, it's different from a narrative essay. In a descriptive essay, of course, that's where you look at other things like your imagery and your tenses, all right? Okay, so you need to look at those things, all right, when you get to it, all right? So you need to make your description stand out. For example, the poet Mongani Wali Sirote writes in his description, my hand like a starved snake rears into my pocket for my thin, ever lean wallet. All right. So you see how those descriptions literally come alive, even if it's a topic like it was unexpected. So you also need to make sure that you devise imageries that are associated with light, sound, hearing, taste, and touch. All right. So it must come to a point where I can even feel it. Right. So for example, it's not just that the food that they were cooking was delicious, right? But it's more about the food that they were cooking was harassing my nostrils. Okay. Did you see how I just created a vivid imagery where I'm able to make you think about what is going on? I'm able to make you see what I'm imagining. I'm able to make you experience what I am seeing. So it's all about getting to that point where you are able to experience just like the other person. All right. Make your audience feel it. Make your audience hear it. Right. For example, her hand collided with my face and it created a loud slap. Wow. That imagery has the power to make me visualize it and also hear the sound of the person's hand colliding against my skin. All right. Make sure that you use figurative language, all right? So it's not just how the person got here and he sat down. No, he got here and he floated onto the seat, or he took a seat. All right. Use your emotive language. All right. That drilled into my fears. That's emotive language. All right. Things like you are also allowed to use subjective language. This is where you write about your personal feelings. All right. Remember, it's a descriptive essay. That's where you're allowed to do it. Right. Then we look at, in case you decide to choose it in a reflective essay format. Remember, if you're going to write it as a form of a reflective essay, all right, you need to present your views and ideas and thoughts and feelings on a particular topic, usually something that you feel strongly about. All right. It turns to be, boys and girls, much more personal. It needs to be personal rather than subjective. You need to be very, very careful with the structure, but you do not need to present a clear conclusion. Remember, because it is an emotional essay, nor does it have to present a balanced discussion, although it might or can be witty or serious. Okay. So, for example, a reflective essay usually includes the writer's emotional experiences and you actually reflecting on a past experience, what you did, how you acted, and how things could be like in the future. See? All right. So there is actually and something that you could use in order to remember it. All right. There's something that you can use. I normally call it I normally call it my way of remembering things. It's called the KIT. All right. So where you find that your K refers to knowledge and experience. You write about what you know, what you've experienced, what you've observed, what you can include your thoughts and your feelings, right? Imagery, use strong figurative words, similes, metaphors, describe it in a way that will create the imagery and tense, right? Very important when you're writing an essay, your tense. Try your best as far as possible, boys and girls, to make sure that you keep your tense the same throughout your essay, right? Unless, of course, you are referring back to what someone said, of course, and then it will be in direct speech or present tense. But try your best to keep your tense at the same time, at the same place. All right. Right. Then we've got other essays that you could write about. That is your argumentative essay. An argumentative essay tends to be subjectively argued. It's actually, boys and girls, your attack or your defense is on a particular topic, and it has to be consistent and well argued as possible, but it will inevitably be one-sided. The conclusion clearly states where the writer stands and why. All right. So you need to have your own stance, right? Your own belief. Write it in the present tense. You must begin your essay by stating your opinion. So from the onset of your essay, I need to know how you believe about how you believe. For example, allow your silence to speak for you. I want to know whether you believe in this, that we allow our silence to speak for us? Should we remain silent, or should we just accept things the way they happen? All right. So that's your argumentative essay. 2, you are also expected to support your views by giving reasons and linking them in a logical way. For example, using linking words because this shows that, however, this suggests that, it can be argued that, right? So it's not just about saying that, yes, you must be silent and must be quiet and let people do what they want, without you drawing a logical train or a logical connection between you keeping silent and what it yields in future. All right. So you must be able to argue in a logical way, present an argument that is logical. When ending this essay, you need to use a strong conclusion that clearly and convincingly states your opinion, right? So you need to tell me what you believe in. You need to tell me how you need to tell me how you got to the conclusion that you got to. All right. So those are things that you can work on in terms of your genres of essays. All right. So now let's look at what is expected from you in this essay. All right. So I'm going to just go straight onto your rubric. All right. So if you are, so your essay rubric is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories. All right. So the rubric goes to 6 categories, and then on your y-axis you have got your content, planning, as well as language. All right, so that's what you have. All right, where we've got content and planning, which will be for out of 30 marks. All right, so 30 marks. So let's just see what content and planning has to do. So number one, for you to get 30 out of 30, you need to have an outstanding and a striking response. All right, beyond normal expectation. It needs to be intelligent, boys and girls, and thought-provoking. Now, this is your introduction, your 3-body paragraph, as well as your conclusion, right? It needs to be at that place where it is intelligent and thought-provoking. We need matured ideas. And thirdly, it needs to be exceptionally well organized, meaning that it needs to follow that category that I said to you in the beginning of the session, where you need to follow your exposition, right? Your conflict that starts, your rising action, right? And reaching to the peak of your climax of your essay, then the falling of the action, then the resolution. So is it well organized? Does it follow that category? All right. And then we look at your language. All right. So it's divided into 30 marks for content and planning. And then we have got 15 marks for language. So what are we looking for in terms of language? We're looking for the tone, all right? The tone, the attitude that is reflected by your essay, all right? The register. Are you writing it in a formal, colloquial, talkative style, or you're writing it in academic language, all right? Vocabulary. Are you using the right word to express things, all right? So if you're speaking about somebody who actually made you do something, are you speaking properly to saying that this person maneuvered me to do one, so this person persuaded me, this person motivated me to do something? So that counts for your vocabulary. Are you using the right words for the right experiences? All right. Next, then we look at our word choice and the context, and we also look at the language use and conventions. We also look at, are you able to punctuate your essay? Most of us tend to write essays which have got very little punctuation, boys and girls. See, no, it shouldn't be like that. You need to make sure that you keep your sentences short. Keep your sentences short and express your idea, then move on. All right. Then we also will be looking at your grammar. Those are all the rules that govern the language. All right. Are you following the right rules? Are you constructing your sentences the right way? And as well as spelling. So please, your spelling, boys and girls, it has to be on par. It has to be in par with caps. All right. You cannot afford to be making spelling mistakes. All right. If you're not sure about a spelling of a specific word, then what do? Right. You try to find another word, all right, that you can use. We cannot avoid. We are trying to get as many marks as we can here on paper 3. All right. So, and then we look at the last aspect, the last component here. It is your style. So we have content, we had language, now we have style. What are we looking for in style? We're looking for the feature and text of paragraph development and sentences. All right. So we want to know if you've developed your topic properly, right? So you gave us a background, you gave us the characters, you set the scene properly. You were able to keep us hooked in. Your paragraphs are in equal proper lengths. Your paragraphs actually all discuss a specific idea. You have exceptional details and exceptional well construct. So that's what we're looking at, and that is your essay. All right. So that's your essay, 1.1 right up until 1.9. So that's what we are looking at when we are doing your essay. So in this hour, what have we done, boys and girls? In this hour, I have showed you what you were supposed to do, right? Number one, we said that we were supposed to look at the exposition, right? That's the first part, right? We were planning. Number two, we needed to look at our rising action, the building up of our story, right? The leading up to that part of that essay, that part of the climax. The third part was reaching our climax. At this part, you're probably on your third paragraph or second paragraph of your body, and then the falling of the action as well as our resolution. So we looked at that and how we get there in terms of our essay, right? Whether we're doing the picture, whether we're doing the horse, or whichever thing that we are looking for. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now we're going to look into section B, that is the longer transactional text. What were you supposed to do there? All right, so with the longer transactional writing, let's look what was expected of us. All right, so it says choose one of the following topics and write a longer transactional text. The body of your response should be between 120 words and in length, and write down the number and the heading of your text and that you have chosen. For example, to letter of application. All right, so let's start with the letter of application. All right, so letter of application. All right, so there's two things that we need to remember when it comes to the letters, all right, that we are expected to do. All right. It says, 2.1, you are a student at a tertiary institution. A local bookshop has advertised a part-time position for a shop assistant. You wish to apply for this opportunity. Okay, all right. So number one, we need to find out what we are going to do. All right. So we understand here that we are students. All right. So I'm a student. I need to make sure that I underline tertiary. All right. Tertiary. A local bookshop has advertised a part-time shop assistant position and we wish to apply. All right, so number one, this is a formal letter. All right, so it's a formal letter of application. All right, so the first thing that we need to do, all right, looking at this, of course, we need to start by writing our address. All right, so you start first by your address, right? So it's going to be your address. So we're going to probably start with our address. All right there. Maybe we're going to say 27 Litchfield Street, Pietermaritzburg. Then I am going to have got my area code, which is 3201, and I'm writing this on the 22nd of October 2024. All right. Okay, so that's my address. Immediately I'm done with the address. All right, what do? I need to write the address. I skip a line and I do the address of the other person. All right. So before that, make sure that you write your date. All right. So you don't skip a line when you write a date. Do not skip a line when you write the date. Do not skip a line when doing the date. All right, so we don't skip a line when we're writing the date. Great, lovely. All right, so we need to find out how we're going to go about this later. Number one, we are writing to apply to a specific job. So we need to make sure that number one, our tone is it's very genuine and it is formal. All right. So you are probably going to start where after you have written the person's address, maybe let's just invent an address for the person that we are writing to. All right. Maybe we could say to the manager of the local bookshop. All right. So you're addressing it. And then you're going to start by saying, dear sir, madam, or dear sir, madam. All right. You skip a line and you write a reason for writing this letter. I write to you to inform you of my desire to work at your company, or I write this letter to you to apply for a position that was advertised on the Star newspaper on such and such and such a date. All right. So you start off by giving me the reason why you're writing. All right. You're writing in order to apply for the bookshop assistant position. All right. Then after doing that, you're going to skip your line, all right? And then you're going to tell me why the person should hire you, all right? I think you should hire me because I've been working with books and literature from a young age. I've spent extensive time in a library, and I think that I will be a great asset to your company or to your outlet, all right? And then you're going to skip another line, all right, to say that I have studied at the University of Toronto, and I've done 1, 2, and 3, and therefore I think that I'm the perfect candidate for this position, right? Then you go to your last paragraph. I hope that you will find this letter and I will get the position, all right? I can be contacted on 084-524-5664, all right? Then you make sure that you sign your name at the end and you write out your initial. That is your letter of appreciation. That's what was expected from you yesterday. All right. Then we look at the magazine article. It says the editor of a magazine for teenagers is asking for articles on the topic, how to manage your leisure time effectively. You would like to submit an article on this topic. All right. So, number one, you will try to look at this article, right? Look at this topic, all right? So you need to first start by planning, right? The editor, all right? So you are the editor of the magazine. You're the editor, all right? So the editor, so no, not you being the editor, but the editor of the magazine for teenagers is asking your help. You are going to write an article. So you are just the writer of the article. So you're not writing this to the editor. You're just writing an article. And your article, how to manage your leisure time effectively. All right. So how? The word how, all right, it needs to give us a method. So number one, you need to propose strategies and methods on doing something, on how to manage your time, your leisure time effectively. What does it mean, boys and girls, to manage, right? So when we manage something, all right, it means that that specific thing is in our care for a specific time. Right, that particular thing is in our care. We are supposed to do something. We are supposed to handle it. So in other words, how to manage your time could be how to actually hold your time, all right? How to actually use your time profitably, all right? And then, great, that is what it means to manage. It means to be accountable for something. It means to keep something, all right? It means to use it in the right way. All right, leisure time. That is the time that you are given in order to relax and do things on your own. So those are the things you should be speaking about when you're writing your steps. All right. So how? So you're giving me methods. You're giving me strategies. All right. Manage. All right. Manage. How do you hold it? All right. How do you use it profitably? All right. Your leisure time. All right. When do we get leisure time? All right. We get leisure time at home. We get leisure time at school. We get leisure time at work. We get leisure time sometimes at church. So we get leisure time also on camp. So how do we normally use our leisure time? All right. So, all right. Then we move on to the shorter transactional text. All right. It says here, choose one of the following topics and write a short transactional text. The body of your response should be between 80 and 100 in length. All right. So before we even get to it, I like to discuss the rubric. All right. The rubric, just like we discussed the rubric with our essay, we're now going to discuss the rubric with this one. All right. Find out what we were supposed to do and what was our rubric supposed to look like. All right. So I'm going now back to the rubric. This is the rubric that is used in order to look at assessing the shorter transactional texts. All right. So the shorter, the longer transactional text, I mean to say. All right. So we also have content and planning, language and style, where content and planning is out of 15. All right. So in order for us to secure those 15 marks, what must we do? All right. We need to have a response and ideas that have got great organization of ideas, perfect planning, the purpose of the audience, the features to take. So in other words, that you must present an outstanding response beyond normal expectation. All right. So it shouldn't be a normal conversation that you expect, or a normal conversation that anyone can expect. If you give something that's mundane, that is normal, you will get a normal mark. And that's not what we're striving for, aren't we? Right? We're striving for making sure that we get the best possible marks. So you need to have an outstanding response. Maybe your father's going to come back from work, and your father's probably not going to be willing to sit down with you and have a conversation. Or maybe he's going to be quite upset that you are going to have this, or perhaps you are a bit scared to have this conversation with your father, or perhaps you do not know how to start it. It is small details like that, boys and girls, that make it very interesting, all right, and then push the marker to actually give you a higher mark, all right? So it needs to be intelligent, and it needs to have matured ideas, all right? Have great ideas. So don't let it be just, Dad, please sit down, I've got something to tell you, all right? So perhaps you're driving with your dad and you're in a car, and maybe you're eating dinner, and then you just bring up the topic, all right? Make it out of the box, make it something new, all right? Don't just make it to something that is there, right? Something that anybody can do, right? Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so another point that you need to do, the writing needs to maintain focus, all right, coherence and content and ideas, all right? So it needs to follow a certain way, all right? So if it's an obituary, all right, you need to follow the chronological order of things, all right? If it is a dialogue, also it needs to also be highly elaborated, right? So please, the only way you can get the highest marks is if you go over and beyond what you are expected to do. The people that get the highest marks, they go over and beyond. It's not people that just write mundane things and normal things, all right? They have to make sure that it's quite expressive. And if it's expressive, then you are able to get the best possible marks, all right? Nicely done. All right. So now let's move on to the next part of the rubric. All right. The language and the style. All right. So we look at the language and the style. With language and style, what are we looking for? With language and style, we're looking for tone. Remember, that's the attitude, right? And the voice of your writing. Your register, is it formal or is it informal, right? What is the style, right? Which style did you use? Did you use a talkative style? Did you use an academic style, right? Did you use a very strict style, right? You need to say what style that you have to use, and you need to develop that style and develop it very well in a way that will actually set your entire essay into fire. All right. Okay. It needs to be vocabulary needs to be highly appropriate to the purpose of the audience. Remember, if you're writing an audience, all right, so your vocabulary, you can't just say, yeah, Dad, I'm right here, man, dude, I can't do it, man. I want to just not come here. Dad, man, don't tell me that. What you saying? What you gonna do, Dad? Oh no, Dad. Right? We're not expecting you to say that, because the vocabulary that you use, it needs to be the same. It needs to fit the description, right? It needs to fit what you are doing at this moment, all right? Try your best to keep your vocabulary at that. Okay. You need to make sure that you check your grammar, and it needs to be accurate, and it needs to be virtually error-free. All right, that is what you have. So if you're able to do those things, there is no way that a marker will not give you 20 out of 20 for this, or 30 out of 30 for this. Can a marker give you less than that? If you follow all these instructions I've laid out? Of course not. The marker would make sure that you get all the marks that you need. All right. Okay. So let's just see what's going on here. All right, now we get to the shorter transactional pieces. All right, so your shorter transactional pieces that we've been given here is the poster, the diary entry, the instructions. All right, okay, let's see. What are we supposed to do with these instructions? What are we supposed to do? All right, let's just see. They are telling us there, they say to us that choose one of the following topics and write a short transactional text. The body of your response should be between 80 and 100 words in length. write down the number and the heading of the text that you have chosen, e.g. or 3.1 poster. All right, so the poster is the first one that we have been given there. All right, so let's just see what we are supposed to do where it gets the poster. All right. The poster, it says your local municipality is hosting a poster competition to promote tourism in your hometown. Would you like to enter? You would like to enter the competition. All right, so you need to design a poster. All right, so a poster, remember, it needs to be written in big and bold. The small words that you write with your pen will not be able to be seen. So every word that you write on that poster needs to be big. So you make sure that you use good color. Make sure that you use big words. All right, make sure that it's got catchy phrases. Yes, make sure that you use very powerful, very powerful punctuation mark, your exclamation marks, your commas. All right, make sure that there's a picture. All right, there's graphic. All right, that is actually going to be showing and advertising tourism. All right, you want to show ships, you want to show a boat, you want to probably show a train and a bus and a car, anything that has to do with tourism. You want to show maybe a center like Hector Peterson or a tourist attraction somewhere there, something that will really attract the person to actually give you the competition. All right, so we look at 3.2. Yes, 3.2. You have recently returned from a holiday that turned out differently to what you had expected. Write 2 diary entries. The first entry must express your feelings before the holiday, and the second entry must express your feelings after your holidays. All right, so they're saying that you have recently returned. So this is an aftermath. So this is you recollecting. This is you reflecting, all right, on something that has already happened. So it has already happened, it's gone, and now you need to write your feelings about it. Now, 2 diary entries, remember,